Welcome back to another episode of ROC Boys football. The fellas heading to the SEC as the Missouri Tigers go on the road to face one of the most exciting teams in the country, a personal favorite of mine. Every year I kind of just pick some teams that I'm really going to pull for. And this South Carolina team, led by Coach Beamer, is one of the hardest teams in the country not to root for. They have a very talented team, and this Beamer ball, I follow him on Instagram, some absolute electric moments. You have to feel great if you're a South Carolina fan about the trajectory of this program under Coach Beamer, and they are one of the more fun teams to watch. This is going to be a very good one. Before we get into it, though, again, just want to say thank you guys for the support you guys have shown. It means an absolute ton to us. Over 2,000 subscribers. That is absolutely insane. And again, the South Carolina fans, you really have been absolutely awesome. We love talking ball with you guys. This team is so fun to talk about. Without further ado, let's get into it. And let's start with South Carolina. They're coming in as only 4-point favorites at home. I'm going to start with I love this play. I think South Carolina is not only the better team, but the more confident team. They're the hotter team coming into this game. You look at what Missouri did last week, only beat a Vanderbilt team at home by 3 points. This South Carolina team, I get Texas A&M isn't great. I get Kentucky didn't have Will Levis. But they are starting to believe that they can win at the SEC level, and they're really starting to expect to win at the SEC level. Getting into the matchup, what I really, really like and what I think is going to be very important is Spencer Rattler taking care of the football. Obviously, that is a concern. You look what he's done. 5 touchdowns to 8 interceptions. Has thrown some not so great balls and then some just unfortunate interceptions. What you like to see and why I think you've seen him take care of the ball a little bit better is the offensive line has improved. You look at watching week 1 against Georgia State and watch them really just tear apart the South Carolina offensive line. That was a red flag. That's not a very talented Georgia State team, and they were really handing it to the offensive line. I think it's a more improved unit. Am I saying it's one of the best units in the SEC? Probably not, but it's a unit that is getting better, and Spencer Rattler's a guy that if you give him time and you give him a clean pocket, he's got all the arm talent in the world. I think you're seeing him a little skittish in the pocket just because he doesn't really trust the offensive line and drops his eyes, likes to kind of break pockets early. If you continue to see some development from Spencer Rattler, the ceiling for this offense is massive because you look at the skilled players, and we got to start with Marshawn Lloyd again, one of the guys that was very, very highly recruited out of high school, tore his ACL. Definitely did not look himself last year. You saw him a little bit, didn't have that juice. When you watch him against Texas A&M, when you watched him the last couple of weeks, you can tell that juice is back. You look at what he's been doing the last couple of weeks. I mean, he's averaging 5.7 yards per carry. He's also been great out of the backfield, 173 yards catching the football. When you get him in space, when you get him to the next level, not only does he have the ability to make people miss at the next level, he's got some burners to take it to the house. I think he's one of the better running backs in the SEC, and he's a workhorse. If you follow him, this dude lives in the weight room, and you're really seeing that pay off. I mean, he's a very big guy. He's a physical runner, but he has some absolute jets when it gets to the open field. And you look at the rest of this offense, and not really some guys that you thought were going to be carrying the load. Heading into the year, Josh Vann, Jaheim Bell were kind of the guys I had highlighted as some of the playmakers through the passing game. It's been a lot more of the transfers. I mean, you have guys like Juice Wells coming over from James Madison, who has, 412 yards. Austin Stogner, the tight end from Oklahoma, Spencer Rattler's boy. He's also been good. He had a couple nice catches against Texas A&M. Jaheim Bell, Josh Vann. I mean, Josh Vann only has 7 catches for 70 yards. Jaheim Bell, they're trying to get him the ball, but again, it hasn't been that effective. Only 13 catches for 157 yards. Kind of the guy that you didn't really know was going to be a producer is Jalen Brooks. This South Carolina team has the talent. I think if they give Spencer Rattler a little bit more protection, you're seeing them run the football a little bit better. This offense seems to be hitting their stride. Now, when you look at how they match up against Missouri, they're going to need to pass protect. Missouri has some guys who really can get after the quarterback, and they like to turn the ball over, averaging over 1.5 takeaways per game. You take a look at some of the guys that can get after Spencer Rattler. Tristan Jeffcoat has been a guy. Isaiah McGuire, has been a guy. Tyron Hopper from that linebacker position coming over from Florida. He's a guy that gets in the backfield. When you look at the story of this game and if South Carolina can put up some points, I think it largely has to do with how well they can protect Spencer Rattler. When you see Spencer Rattler have time, he makes some jaw-dropping throws. You see the 5-star arm talent that he has. they haven't really been able to tap into it as much as you would like because the offensive line has struggled. But if this offensive line continues to get better, we kind of said it seemed a little bit less of they don't have the dogs, they don't have the players to do it. I think the players are capable. They're all like, most of them are returning starters. They've played at the SEC level. I think a lot of it had to do with picking up blitzes, communication, a lot of free rushers because the blitz pickups haven't been great. They're getting a little bit more comfortable. I think it certainly helps having the same quarterback call the plays, call the protections out. Last year they had, 4, 5, 6 different quarterbacks calling the plays, running the offense. That certainly doesn't help with the consistency and the communication of this offense. Now, flipping over to the defense side of the ball, the one Achilles heel when you look at South Carolina, I like their secondary. Guys like Cam Smith are very, very good. You look at what offenses have been able to do throwing the football, only a 55% completion percentage. They have not been very effective throwing the ball in South Carolina. What they have been effective is running the football. They're allowing over 4.3 yards per carry to opposing teams. This Missouri team doesn't necessarily run the football that well. They have some guys that you like. Nathaniel Pete is a guy that can get loose, but I'm not terrified of this Missouri rushing attack. They only average 4 yards per carry. And again, I think South Carolina, it starts with how well they can stop the run. And another thing you have to look at is takeaways. I mean, Missouri is averaging 2.3 turnovers per game on offense, and South Carolina is doing a dang good job forcing turnovers, forcing 1.6 turnovers per game. These are two offenses that have turned the ball over a lot, and you got to think that turnovers are going to play a factor in this game because Spencer Rattler's turned the ball over a lot. Brady Cook from Missouri has turned the ball over a lot. And another thing is just stopping the explosive plays. Missouri has liked to move the ball with some explosive plays to guys like Dominique Lovett, guys like Luther Burden. If South Carolina can stop that, I really like their chances. But again, Missouri likes to take those shots. They have the guys to do it, to get the behind field, get behind the defense. That seems like a little bit of the story. Going back to the run game, though, I kind of like what South Carolina has done on the defensive line in the summer. We were kind of banging the table for guys like Jordan Burch, Zach Pickens, to kind of step up. That defense, especially the front seven, was very, very weak. They were giving up over 5 yards per carry. Simply can't do that in the SEC. Zach Pickens has been great. I think Jordan Burch has looked phenomenal. Some of the linebackers have played very well. And if they continue to get better, and this is kind of the story of what we're talking about, this South Carolina team is clearly getting better week by week. I think the confidence is building, and I don't blame them. Coach Beamer's a guy that has me wanting to run through a brick wall. I think his players are kind of buying into the process. And this South Carolina team, I think, is going to get better week after week. And you look at their schedule. They play Missouri. If they can beat Missouri, then they go on the road to Vanderbilt. I don't think it's crazy to see South Carolina ranked inside the top 15 in the next 2 weeks if they continue to win games, because other teams are going to hurt themselves. It's kind of going to tear each other down, especially in the SEC, especially in the Big Ten and the Pac-12, the Big 12 as well. This South Carolina team could be sitting in the top 15. Do I think they're a top 15 team yet in the country? Probably not, and I think that's why you see a line that's only favored South Carolina by 4 points. They haven't been great. It's been ugly. They've relied on some special teams to kind of give them a jolt and get them over the edge. This South Carolina team's getting better, and I think most South Carolina fans see this team getting better. So when it gets to the pick, I kind of like 2 picks in this game. One, I do like South Carolina to cover 4 points. I think it's going to be absolutely rocking in South Carolina, and you take a look at some of the environments that Williams-Brice Stadium has had. It's a 4 p.m. kickoff. This place is juiced up. Like the South Carolina fans are just craving good football, and they're getting it. And it's hard not to root for this team with Coach Beamer leading them. Another play I do like is the over 47. That's not a very high total. And it's 2 teams that turn the ball over a lot. I think you can see some short fields. These offenses aren't necessarily teams that they're not necessarily offenses that you're really enticed by the over, but these defenses, a special teams touchdown, those are the type of plays that kind of turn some grinder SEC games to kind of shootouts. And I think you might be able to see some of that too, especially with both teams kind of been pretty good with the big plays, having some explosive plays. I like the over in this, but my favorite play is definitely South Carolina to cover the 4 points. Not very high on this Missouri team. I get that they've kept it close in a few games, like overtime in Auburn. Auburn is not a very good team. They were able to keep it close against a Georgia team that just looked very, very sloppy. That was a very fun game. I was rooting for Missouri. They couldn't pull it out. Then they go on the road to Florida. they hang around, but I don't know how good Florida is yet. So I'm not in love with this Missouri team. I'm kind of riding this South Carolina wave right now. This is a very confident team. The expectation is they're going to win football games, I think. And that's kind of where I'm at with this team. I think this Missouri team is going to be good, just not this year. I think they're still young. They've done a very good job recruiting. I don't think some of those playmakers that they've recruited are quite ready to go out and win some SEC games. I'm riding with South Carolina. They're the hotter team. They're the more confident team. And they're the team that I just want to be rooting for, to be quite honest. This one is going to be a good one. Thank you guys for checking us out again. If you like the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to y'all later.